Today we're going to talk about why men accept terrible deals in relationships. Now, you might think, I would never accept that. And that is a common trope that I've heard men in my experience interviewing 1,000 people. Many men would say, I will not accept a woman with X, Y, and Z. And I would think they meant it. But much like women, when they say they won't, that they're different than other girls, they don't always, what they say doesn't match what they do. My observation was that a lot of times the guys that said, I will not accept that, did in fact accept that. So what happens is, we're going to divide this into 3 categories: the mids, hot people, uggos. Okay, so we're going to start with the men. So women only think like 20% of men are hot. So let's put 2 Chads here. Now, hot is a little bit more fluid for women. So like comedians, for example, may be ugly, but they're funny, so then we start to see them as hot. Guys with microphones, they could like say anything, and we're like, ooh, microphone, now they're hot. So this is contextual a little bit. A guy we might not find attractive, then he goes behind a bar, then all of a sudden we want to bang him. I don't make the rules, I just tell you what they are. Now, these are the mid men. These are guys that are normal looking, normal with like charming women. They're just, I would say, like average men. So let's say there's 4 of these. Actually, I think more accurate, we're going to make 3 average men. And then you got the rest of them. These are the guys that are left out. We're going to be frowning. Aw. Aw. I'm too ugly to get in the game. Sad. All right, so now for women, we're going to divide it here. So we're going to make a nice chart. Now we're going to have the hot women. And I'm actually going to have a 3rd category, but you'll see. So this is just looks alone to start. So she might be hot. These are like the hot, let's say like 20-year-old women. We got the hot women here. Now, there's the hot women, but. So maybe like hot people I'm putting as 8 pluses. Mids I'm putting as 4 to 6.5 to 7. Maybe I'll do 7, 8 pluses. Yeah, fine. And the uggos, sub 4s. There could be a hot woman, but she's got like $100K of debt. So, her initial looks, we're not going to take away from her. She is really hot, but she's got $100,000 in debt, Then we have another hot woman. She's hot, but she's got a kid. So over here are the hot women, but. And then we got the mids, and it's the same kind of thing, right? Because men are, it's a lot more unanimous, like the looks. It changes based on the context. Like a guy could be mid in one context, but really attractive in another. And then the mids, but, and then I'm just going to put the belugas. We're just going to, these are the fat women, obviously. So these are the circles. These are the ugly. Let's give her a big nose. And she's fat. Ugh. Okay, so these are all the women. These are the guys. There's more women than men on the planet, so maybe there's a little bit more. So the men, they kind of are looking at the menu. And the problem is the women keep ruining themselves. Like we might have a mid, right? And they think, this guy thinks, ooh, I'll take the mid. But then, she ruins herself a little bit. She has a kid, she gains 20 pounds, and now she's a mid-butt. And then we have, a mid that maybe turned into a fat chick, she becomes a sub 4. And men realize that in order to get the mids without a butt or a hot chick, there is just a cost they have to put up with. And the hot men might not put up with it, right? They'll bang this girl, and she tries to broadcast their relationship, and he's like, let me go bang. So the women, we bang this guy. I know a guy who goes through 100 women a year, 100. So he banged all of them, right? He's banging, runs through the women. And so you might think, well, who's going to do that? Who's going to put up with it? Well, it's called the lonely men here. Because Tom here, he might say, I am not putting up with an OnlyFans just so I can be with a hot chick. But Henry says, hey, I'll do it. Henry says, shut up, Tom. And then we got Dick over here, and Dick says, okay, I just want this mid right here. And she doesn't have any debt. She's not fat. I'll take her. I'll take her. That one, I want that one. And she's like, well, could we just do a little bit of a TikTok? And at first he says, no. And she says, please. And then he bangs her a few times. And he's like, And then all of a sudden he's on a TikTok relationship, right? So what happens is the more men are iced out, like the less men that are in the hot category, which is becoming less and less every year, the worse women get, which women are getting fatter and fatter every year, so there's less mids to pick. The more rare beauty becomes, the more men are willing to accept in order to get beauty. Now you might say, but Pearl, what about character? Well, you can get some character from the fat women. So, not to say, and you know what? The women that do have character, the line for them is out the door. You know, because even the hot men at some point will say, okay, I just want a cute girl with some character. I'll take her. And Tom is like, no, that's my girlfriend. I met her in high school. And then, you know, we got Tyrone or we got Brad over here that says, no, I want that one. I'm going to take your girl. And Brad and Tom over here saying, no, don't take my girlfriend. Don't. I have her. I got her first. And Brad's like, you know I can just take your girl. And then she'll gaslight, right? She'll say, I would never leave, as she's actively leaving. So again, then this guy he runs through all these women, and then the men are just forced to accept it. That's why the average age of marriage keeps going up, because men will accept it. That's why IVF is being created, because men will accept it. Now, it might not be you, I hope it's not, but somebody will. Somebody will. And the quality of the people accepting it keeps getting higher and higher, because the government needs men to accept it, and society needs men to accept it to keep the economy going, because who is going to pay for all these broads? We can't pay for ourselves. So someone's got to do it. Yeah, and then, you know, one girl gets too damaged, and then, you know, it just keeps getting more rare. You know, one beautiful girl gets too damaged from Tyrone, Brad, whatever Chad she went for. Because women will always go for Chad when given the chance, if they think they have a good chance of locking him down, which we're delusional, so we do think that. So then the more women get ruined, now there's like two girls to choose from. They both want Brad. Brad might take one. And then really the men here are like, all right, I want a kid. I guess I will accept whatever in order to get children. I want children. Men don't have the balls like women. Women have the balls to do IVF by themselves. If women are losers and we cannot get a man, we'll go buy one. Men won't do it for whatever reason. They won't get a surrogate. Even though we have made their lives living hell on earth. We have made their, like, if they choose to reproduce with an American woman.